Guys, welcome back to the channel. But this video is actually about another re-upload, and this is going to be a re-upload of me making these sliders. So these sliders have been on here for several years now. When I originally made the video, I made the video with my cell phone, and it was cut up into parts. It didn't really make sense. It was just a terrible video altogether, series of videos. So I've tried to consolidate those into one video to kind of make sense, to see how I made rock sliders for about 60 bucks total. A few tips as you're going through the video to think about. I originally used Plasti Dip. Don't do that. Just go ahead and primer and paint. And then I originally used just some black Allen headed bolts. Go ahead and use stainless. That keeps them from rusting. I did have a little bit of rust on the bolt head himself. So other than that, I hope this video is somewhat educational, at least to see how to build super cheap rock sliders for your TJ, or really for any Jeep. You guys check out the video. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching my other re-uploads. Every little bit helps. If you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see y'all later. Today I may take a little break from building the cage. I may go ahead and build, or at least start laying out the rock sliders. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here's the idea. I bought some plate steel. So the first thing I bought was some 6-inch plate. Go right here. I'll have to cut corners into an angle, so I'll have to cut 2 angles, one on each side. So that's what will go on the side right here, down to about 3/16 of an inch below right here. I then bought some 2-inch 3/16 that will go under here and weld to the edge of that 6-inch, and then I'll bolt it into the side where these holes already are to hold it up there. I got 2-inch because there's a cutout right here where the floor pan goes a little bit below this edge, and there's about 2 inches right there. Plus, realistically, you're really only worried about damaging your rockers, and 2 inches is plenty of strength to stop that. This 3/16 should be plenty thick enough, and should provide plenty once I get it welded on there and get everything bolted to the body. Let's start measuring and cutting, and we'll see what that looks like. There is one more thing to discuss before we get started. This is obviously painted metal. If I put another piece of metal up on here, just body movements, especially off-roading, will cause those two metals to rub against each other. And that's likely to cause this paint to come off and to have bare metal exposed. If you live anywhere else, especially where there might be a little road salt or anything like that, you're going to get a lot of corrosion and rust buildup like that. So you don't want to have that metal-to-metal contact. They make gasket material that will go behind this. Some people use foam, different things. There's lots of different things you can use. I don't know what I'm going to use yet, but I am going to use something, even though I don't necessarily need to, just because I don't want to one day pull that off and it just be basically raw metal or even holes in the metal. So based off the measurements I just took, the 2-inch piece would be 45.5, or the bottom edge of the 6-inch piece would be 45.5 inches. There's 2 inches between where I want the top point and the bottom. So that's when I had 2 inches on this side, 2 inches on this side on the top edge. So that's 4 inches, so that'd be 49.5. So top edge 49.5, bottom edge 45.5. Measure that out on the 6-inch piece and get ready to cut my angles. Something interesting that a math major may have saw before I did. This is 6-inch. The cladding piece that came off was 4-inch. So if there's 2 inches of difference between here and 4 inches, there would be more than 2 inches of difference between here and 6 inches. A simple triangle. So I'm going to figure out the math and figure out how steep that angle needs to be. Probably it's going to be, rough estimates, 2 goes into 4/2, so it's roughly going to be another inch out for this angle. This bottom will stay the same measurement. It's the top that will change the measurement. So let's see if that works. So that math was correct. I need an extra inch at the top, which means all these marks go away. I bring this mark in 1 inch, take this mark out 1 inch, take this mark out 1 inch, which is actually 1 inch from this mark, so 2 inches from this mark. All right, now I have the new marks on there, and you can see they're quite different. Let me go test fit that, See if those marks line up. The idea is I want them to line up to my fender flares. The old cladding did, so we're trying to make this one line up. Alright, so there it is with the angles cut. Obviously I'll grind these corners to where they're not sharp, and I'll grind that down a little bit, but I'll wait till I get all the welding done before I do that. And now I'm going to measure and cut the bottom piece. You can see it's a lot simpler. How that'll be an L like that once I get it cut and welded. Mark over here. But now it's to take the time to measure out on the other steel this perfectly so that it matches 100%. That way, if you're off a quarter of an inch somewhere on your measurements, it doesn't reflect in the other one. They're carbon copies of each other. That's if you're just doing one off and you don't have a jig made or anything like that. All right, there they are, all 4 pieces cut. Now I'll have to, I've got some right angle magnets and some clamps. I'll clamp that into to tack weld it together. I'll need to map out where the holes go on the 6-inch pieces. And I gotta figure out what size bolts I want to use. I'll be using a drill press to drill those with. You wouldn't have to have a drill press, but drill presses make life so much easier. And I have to get these rivets out that were left over from when I took the body cladding out. Once I figure out what size, I may go ahead and drill these holes. That way I can reach in with a pin and mark where the holes will be drilled on the 6-inch pieces. Alright guys, you can kind of see it mocked up, kind of where it's going to go. Obviously I haven't welded this bottom piece on. I'm going to go ahead and do that here in a second. And then I can put it back up there like it is now, mocked up. And all these gaps right here should be even with each other. Then I'll mark the holes to drill with the drill press, and then everything should be good. You can see how the angles match generally, and then of course they'll be painted black. Alright, so you can kind of see my welding set up. I've got that clamped at a 90-degree angle. Got my 90-degree magnets to verify the angle. I am leaving a slight lip right here. That's where I'm going to weld the bead. That way I don't have to grind the whole thing off to get it nice and flat. Only thing I'll have to watch is that does have a flat curve. I'm going to have to pull that in just a little bit and make sure this doesn't get pulled back, because I want that to be as flat as possible. The best way to do that is to put a tack down there, come down here, measure it out, put a tack, come down here, measure it out, put a tack, then come down here and then tack that. Making sure that this stays at a 90-degree angle. So that's what I'll do. Once I get those tacks in place, and I'll put some welds in place. You weld it slow. You start over here, then do some here, then do some here. You don't just weld all the way down. By the time you get to the end, that heat will have warped that metal and pulled it in different directions, and it's not going to be nearly even. I've got the bottom piece tacked on there. I'm going to get a Sharpie. I'm going to go in these holes back here. I'm going to mark the spots, and then I'll go put this thing on the drill press. Once I get that done, I'll put it back up, and I'll just take a hand drill and drill the holes the proper size into the actual body. So let's start marking and drilling, and we'll see how that turns out. So these are the 3 marked holes that I could mark from inside the tub. 2 of them are behind the other little pieces of the tub that you can't get to. Realistically, there's no reason in putting bolts all the way down through here. Those 3, which are pretty large, are going to be pretty large bolts, plus 1 more up here in the corner, should be enough. So I'm going to make a line down through here, a straight line, same distance from the top. I'm going to figure out where to put it. I'm going to put 1 more bolt hole over here somewhere. This is generally what it's going to look like. It will look so much better than this, which is just crap. Alright, so I let this dry overnight, plasti dip the front. I put and you can see the texture, kind of see the texture. I put the rubberized bed liner on the back. There. So there you can kind of generally see what it's going to look like. Still not all bolted up. Got 1 more bolt put there. You can see I got to put this bolt in right here to pull that up tight. But generally, that's what it looked like. I went with plasti dip. I may change that. Of course, that's the beauty about plasti dip, is you can change it if you want to. I did go with plasti dip just for ease, and I already had it available. And if it gets scuffed up, I can just paint over it or touch it up. It's real easy. So I could definitely change though. I don't know if I'm crazy about that flat look. Makes it kind of look, I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of what the protection looks like. I also decided to plasti dip the cage, and I am going to keep that like that because it gives it, I like the satin look. Alright guys, I'm done with the rockers. I did do a few last finishing touches. I drilled another bolt hole right here, and I'll show you that here in a second. And I had tapped that to put a 5/16 bolt in, just like the rest of the bolts. You couldn't get to the back side, so I couldn't put a nut on the back side. Same up here at the front, and I did 3/8 up here. You can't get to the back side, so that's also tapped. I just use a standard tap and die set. If you've never used one of those, then look that up on YouTube. It's super easy to do, so not a big deal. But bam, there they are. I like them. I did plastic dip them. I can touch that up whenever I need to. I'm not sold on the plastic dip, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Hey, it might work, it might not. Let me give you a little bit closer look here. You can see I still have a rough edge here or there. I'm gonna have to go finish up, clean up. That's actually just dust. That's not metal. I got to clean up a little bit, but you can see the 5/16 Allen head bolts I used down through there, and then that 1 3/8 hex bolt up the top. It does provide a pretty good bit of protection. You can kind of see if the sun doesn't get in my way, or the bright. Down through there, 3/16 under the lip of the guard of the rocker to provide the protection if I go over any rocks. And you can see the nuts I put on the back side, 5/16 on the 3 that go right here, here, and here. So that's where it is, guys. I like it. It's solid too. And it's on there. If you like the video and it helped you out, please subscribe, hit the like button, and let me know what you think. See you on the next project.